Hello, my name is Nira and I'm a student therapist currently working on my master's degree in marriage and family therapy at Touro University. I wanted to inform you that I do have authorization to perform therapy under the supervision of a licensed marriage and family therapist. And although I'm a student, I do have 12 years of experience in trauma recovery through a volunteer opportunity in which I was supervised by a licensed marriage and family therapist. So before we get started, we will need to go over a few important things. I wanted to inform you that as part of my educational training, it is required that I obtain video and audio recordings of my sessions, and wanted to get your permission to do so for this session and future sessions. These recordings are used for educational purposes and will not include your face or any other identifying information. Is that okay with you? Thank you so much for your cooperation. We will now begin to go over informed consent, which needs to take place before we can move forward with the intake process. Informed consent is an agreement between the therapist and the client that states the client's awareness and agreement to the treatment. This includes explaining the overall therapy process, such as treatment approaches, risks, and benefits. We're going to go over fees, cancellation, and no-show policies, and we will also discuss confidentiality and its limits. The overall purpose is to ensure that you have an understanding of your rights and the therapy process. Do you have any questions for me before we get started? Okay. When you arrived, did you give all of your insurance information to the front desk? Okay. And did they explain the cost of therapy and our cancellation and no-show policies? Wonderful. Do you have any questions for me about that? Also, all of the information we go over today will be provided to you as well. And some of the documents will require your signature, such as your agreement to video and audio recording. Do you have any questions at this time? Okay, we're going to go over the therapy process. Each session will range at about 50 minutes long, and the frequency will be decided after the intake process, but once a week is my general recommendation. The duration of therapy is determined on a client-by-client basis based on the specific goals and needs. So we could do short-term therapy, long-term therapy. It's just dependent on what brought you to therapy and the goals you're trying to achieve. And if for any reason you do need to cancel an appointment, please let me know for 24 hours in advance. That way I can provide you with an adequate rescheduled date. Do you have any questions? Okay. Now we're going to discuss confidentiality. I have the responsibility to keep all information discussed during sessions confidential. But as a student therapist, my supervisor will review these recordings in order to provide me with feedback. Are you okay with that aspect? Okay, thank you. Confidentiality, as outlined by HIPAA, ensures that I keep all information confidential, and I will not share your personal information with anyone other than my supervisor. There are limits to confidentiality, which means there are instances where I am required to breach confidentiality, and we will go over those right now. The first is due to any legal requirement or obligation, such as a court subpoena. I have to breach confidentiality and provide them with whatever notes or recordings I have. Another limitation is the risk of harm, which allows me to breach confidentiality if there is a risk of harm to you or others, and this includes threats of violence or self-harm. Also, I'm a mandated reporter. So as a mandated reporter, any suspected child, elder, or dependent abuse requires reporting to the appropriate agencies. And lastly is the duty to warn, which requires me to break confidentiality to inform a potential victim if a client poses a threat to them. So for example, if you express to me that you want to harm Jane down the street, I have the legal requirement and obligation to warn Jane down the street that these are your thoughts or feelings. Do you have any questions for me? And do you understand confidentiality and its limits? Okay. Now we're going to go over the risks of therapy. Therapy requires you to revisit past experiences and traumas which may cause you to experience emotions such as anger, sadness, resentment, or frustration. There's a possibility that the symptoms that brought you to therapy may be exacerbated before they begin to get resolved. This is part of the therapeutic process and is done to help you achieve the goals that brought you to therapy. But I will be here to help you work through all of those tough moments. Do you have any questions at this time? Okay, now we will go over the benefits of therapy. The therapeutic process can provide you with emotional relief, resolving unhealed wounds, improvement in communication and social skills, improvement of relationships, emotional awareness, and a better sense of well-being. Do you understand the risks and benefits of therapy? Okay, and do you have any questions? Okay, so if you feel for any reason or at any time this is not working for you or I'm not the right fit as a therapist, you are welcome to terminate services and I will provide you with a referral. Do you have any questions for me? Okay, we are done. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to provide you with the forms to sign and then we will start the intake process. Thank you so much.